the motorway for me is my only access to town from where I live. So, I mean, for the past almost 16, 17 years, been using the motorway every morning, 19 kilometers in, 19 kilometers out. Talk of near incidents, we've had a couple, but by grace, we are alive. The risk of driving on the motorway, it's terrifying. And over the years, the possibility of an incident happening on the motorway has also increased. First, when you're driving on the motorway, you will not see buses, trotro drivers stopping in the fast lane to pick passengers. You won't see this. There were no illegal U-turns joining the motorway, something like that. You will not find motorbikes on the motorway. So, to have an incident on the motorway, it would have meant that the driver might be driving negligently, overspeeding. Those were the things that will give you an incident on the motorway. But now, anything from the poor state of the road, coupled with the bad driving by both private and public transport owners, pedestrians crossing the motorway, motorbikes zigzagging. We've had incidents where you see the dead bodies there. When it rains on the Tema motorway, you are assured of minimum, when it rains, 2 accidents. You can as part of this campaign, you can check this out. When it rains, drive on the motorway. Minimum 2 crashes will happen on the motorway. Now, we've seen the road so deteriorate to the point that it's now a risk to drive on the motorway. When I leave the house, we have to check in. Okay, I'm starting the motorway. I've ended. Similarly for other family members who use the motorway, because anything can happen. So for us, I don't have a choice. If there was another route, I will not use the motorway. But that's the only route I have to get into town to do my work. So every morning it's an Lord, take me and bring me back home. And when you get
silent prayers
on it's not when we are traveling in my car, it's actually an audible prayer we say every morning before we start the motorway. We say an audible prayer before we start the motorway, and we don't do that on other roads. It's become that dangerous. So I don't know. I mean, if you compare the 2 lanes coming from Tema to Accra, that side is more dangerous now than going from Accra to Tema. There are about 4 major parts of that motorway, starting from where the toll booth used to be. Now the toll booth is not there, so all the cars rush in and they are left with metals shooting out. You have all these big trucks parking by the side. That's the first one. If you cross that one, thanks be to God. Then now you come to the Ashaman underpass. That is a major stop where you literally have to stop for people to cross. Motorbikes, human beings, cars stopping in the middle of the lane. Then you drive off close to the abattoir. Those are not potholes. They are manholes. The concrete has caved in. And in the evening, on that side, it causes traffic, because if you don't slow down, you risk falling into it and skidding off the road. You risk having your tires damaged. So people literally slow down. Then once you cross that, there is the Toyota Ghana opposite, where it's also a bus stop. Then finally, it ends with the Frames Oil side of the Spentex Road, where people are also stopping to. And granted, it's no longer a motorway. We can't call it a motorway. It's not a road that you can do 100 kilometers per hour again.
Do you find yourself investing so much into regular maintenance of your vehicle as a result of this stretch?
I've asked myself a lot of questions. One of the questions is that we're asked to pay roadworthy, and roadworthy certificates are routinely inspected by the police. Question I ask myself: are the roads worthy? You have a roadworthy certificate, but the road is not worthy.
Yeah.
So your cars, you have to work on your cars. I mean, when you go for servicing. One time we went for servicing, they asked me, do I drive off course? I said, what does that mean? The motorway is what I used to work. I said, your car looks like you drive in some off-course road, some rough road. I said, no, it's the motorway. And it's a daily affair. So if I don't have to come to town, I don't. Because I cross the motorway 5 times in a week. If I add Sundays to it, if I decide to use the motorway to church, or I decide to use the beach road, normally Sundays I'll use the beach road because you've had 5, just relax and drive without thinking is someone crossing you, someone coming. So the danger on the motorway, Caleb, it's you have to live it to experience it. If it's raining, it's something else.
Unfortunately, and we're actually entering the rainy season now. I'm just laying in wait to see what happens. Unfortunately, I won't be surprised we record a number of incidents like you've already mentioned. And in 2018, as part of adding your voice to ensuring that it's heard to see some work started on the motorway, you raised a good point about funds allocation to ensure that it's repaired, it's expanded as the talks have been over the years. But fast forward, tolls are no longer collected. And what will be your next possible solution to getting work started on the motorway?
You see, so right now my article is even not relevant because at that time we're collecting tolls.
Yeah.
We're saying that if you're collecting tolls, the law sets up a framework where the tolls collected are used to fix those roads. So a tolled road should not have issues. But now the tolls are no longer there. And the road is deteriorating. So now you can actually see that when the tolls were there, at least
some
they will
temporary
come
works
to
with
do
that.
some filling here with bitumen here, even though it's not the right thing when you have a concrete road and you're adding, but at least it gave comfort. But now, nothing, because the money is not there. I think for commuters who live in Tema and who use the motorway, what they will want to see is a functional road. And if that functional road requires that you pay a certain amount to use it, it's your life. It's better to pay and use a good road than to pay and the road is bad. So what we were complaining about was that we were paying tolls and the road was bad. Now we're not paying tolls, it has gotten worse. So what's the solution? The solution is it's a money issue. If it was a question of gathering prayer warriors to go and pray and the motor would have done that already.
Yeah.
It's not a question of, it's a question of money. And the money is not there. How do we get the money? If it means bringing back the tools, enhancing the tools, because life are at stake. It shouldn't be one Ghanaian dying there. It shouldn't even happen. It shouldn't even happen. And we need to, if we are going to rehabilitate the motorway, we need to enforce certain rules on the motorway. And if we are still going to call it a motorway, I don't think we can continue calling it a motorway with all the access routes. And we have seen over the years how on the sides of the motorway, the development going on there. So it's no longer a motorway. You have human access. So is it time that we say, okay, now let's do overhead bridges for people to now cross instead of crossing the road to the other side? Yeah. Are we going to put traffic lights on there? We need to do something. Otherwise, increasingly, we're going to say never again, never again. People are going to die.
But there are talks of reintroducing poles at some vantage places. And in as much as these tolls will be reintroduced, as the talks are still ongoing, the only thing we'll see are temporary works. Do we need temporary works at this point?
So the motorway is expired. I'll tell you a story. I traveled to visit a friend outside. And in front of their house, there was a road. We got up the next morning. They were working on the road. They were removing everything on the road to put new elements on the road. So I'm like, what's happening? They said, oh, the road has expired. I said, it has what? In our country, the road has expired. This motorway, it has expired. It's even for public health reasons, they should shut down the motorway because it is not safe. It has expired.
When you say expire, what goes into declaring a road expired?
No, if you look at the lifespan, how long have we had this motorway?
58 years.
And if you look at what the kind of damage that is happening on the motorway, you can see that this is not something that you can just go and cut and then fix. It needs a total overhaul. The motorway, when it used to be the motorway, had these plastic strips in between the lanes. You know what they were supposed to do? They were, because when the sun absorbs the heat, they will expand. All those things are not there. So what made the road, it's no longer there. So, it's not, if we are rehabilitating it, it's like just to give comfort. It's a major assessment. People use it. Our landlocked countries, that's the road they use to the ports. So it's either we're saying we're going to start a major rehabilitation of the motorway. I've heard 6 lanes. And when we hear about it, we get excited. The excitement goes on and nothing happens. Get a 6 lane. If it's a proper 6 lane motorway, there are ways of driving. There's a speed lane, there's a slow lane. I don't think people even know that there's a fast lane and a slow lane. You see someone driving at 20 kilometers per hour in the fast lane like this. Like, move to this side. That's why the road. So there are a number of things. First, let's get the road fixed. And now let's enforce rules on the motorway, how we drive on it. But as I'm saying, with the development along the motorway, I don't think it will be 100 kilometer per hour motorway. We need to look at how to break it up and ensure that lives are safe. But at this point, we totally need a new motorway.
Won't shutting it down block access?
Shutting it down is like the extreme.
Yeah.
If you shut it down, it means I'm not going to work.
Certainly.
Or if I have to come to work, maybe I have to look for, maybe join from the beach road and come all the way, or decide that I'll go through Somanya and appear at then
it's the only way to get work started.
Then I won't come to work. I will stay in them. And then once, yes. But shutting it down is actually very extreme. But we need to do something. If we don't take drastic measures, it means we are not valuing our human resource. And in the morning, a lot of cars going in, a lot of cars coming out. It didn't used to be like that. Previously, when you're driving on the motorway, it was a lonely road. You'll be driving and another car will come and pass. But now, you're driving and you have hundreds of cars moving at the same time. So it's a growing community because Accra is expanding. Look at all, now we have 21, 22, 25. People are in pram coming all the way to Accra every morning. And that's the motorway they will use. So if we don't do it, so now the pressure on the motorway has increased from the time the motorway was constructed. So because of the pressure, it will also affect the road quality. So if the pressure has increased, we need to look at how we deal with this. Otherwise, we'll still be counting losses on the motorway.
Very well. Now let's talk about rules, and then we call it traps. Can a driver be held criminally liable for reckless driving on the motorway, as has been happening over the number of years? People driving recklessly, but nothing is being done.
So reckless driving is an offence. I mean, if you look at the Road Traffic Act and its regulations, you can be charged for reckless driving, negligent driving. You can be charged with a number of criminal offences on the motorway. The point is, on the motorway, you hardly actually see the presence of any law enforcement agency. And you also see that the motorway falls in about 2 or 3 assemblies because of the stretch. So there has to be a certain coordination on law enforcement on the motorway. Why the current minister, the Greater Accra minister,
Henry Korte
said that those 3 ties, the tricycles, they shouldn't use the motorway.
But we see them on it.
They are there.
Yeah.
They are there. We are not saying that they shouldn't, we should stop them from their livelihoods. That's not what we are saying. You cannot say that in quest to get food for your family, you put the lives of other families in danger. It's not good. That one, if we do that, then we are in the jungle. It means that I have to kill you to be able to survive. We shouldn't do that. We should find a suitable way of helping these people to get their daily bread. There are some other African countries here. Just closed door here in Liberia. In Liberia, there are certain areas in Monrovia where motorbikes cannot access. They use motorbikes. But there are certain places, there's a perimeter that motorbikes cannot access. Are we saying that they are not having their livelihoods? So anytime we bring up these issues of, stop these people from it, they think that, because you are driving in your cars. No, because you don't pick trotro. No. If you are in a trotro and the trotro driver is stopping on the motorway to pick someone, he's putting your life in danger. If a car hits you, are dead. So you should be as worried as the one who is also driving his own car.
How do we enforce these existing laws then?
Law enforcement is not police. It is the police that enforces law.
So he's saying they've not been doing their work.
I'm not saying that they are not there. Sometimes you see them with motorbikes, they'll be hiding in the bushes with their motorbikes. And now they have a lot of motorbikes. So if they are driving along the motorway, at least presence. And what we like in this country is presence. If they see that there's presence, there'll be order. When a sister station city was doing this indiscipline, the presence alone created a lot of order in our country, where people will not what? Because they know that there will be police present there. But there's no show. So it's every day anybody will do what they want to do, because at least at the end of the day, there's a certain underlying economic hunger to solve. I'm going to work. So how I'll get to work? I have to cross the road to get to work at 8 o'clock. You're putting your life in danger. If you are knocked down, that's the end of you. So I think that the police should help us. They can help us by at least ensuring that if you want to pick a passenger, don't stop in the lane. Go off. If they mean to create bus stops on it, they should create so that the public transport operators will go off the road to pick these passengers, wait, and then, because now every spot on the motorway is a possible stop for public transport, and it's risky. It's risky for the public transport owners, and it's also risky for other pedestrians. So I think the police, this one is squarely on the police, and if the police will need resources, it's squarely on the ministry.
Yeah.
If the road has to be fixed, it's the ministry. So yeah.
Very well. But finally, Council, are there any legal provisions in place to hold road authorities accountable for inadequate maintenance on the motorway?
So, there's the Road Fund Act. There is the Tolls Act. If you read these laws comprehensively together, you realize that there's a duty placed, at least, on the minister to account for the funds collected. Now we are not collecting the funds. If this road is in this state, there are also other remedies in law where you can say that in what we call torts law, where you can hold the duty bearers responsible for not fulfilling their duties to us. This democracy we practice is a contract. We vote for you, and you promise to take care of our well-being. That is the contract. So if I am coming to work and my well-being is at risk, it means that contract is being breached. And there are remedies that we can look out for. But there are instances where people have sued these assemblies for poor roads, that the person drove and his tire got damaged. He sued the district assembly because there's a duty placed on the assembly to ensure that the roads are in a certain state. So yes, there are avenues that you can use, but I think that it's not about suing. I think there should be a collective effort to do this. And we should look at more innovative ways of getting some private sector actors. It's not always about taxes. Maybe if you say that today we want someone to fix inner roads and the cost will be used to offset the payment of taxes. You will see the number of companies that might come up. Because sometimes people will want to contribute to some of these things. We should look for more innovative ways. And we should also hold our duty bearers to account. Because, I mean, no.
By holding them to account, suggest a few means.
Yes, I mean, bringing an action against them, as I said, on the duty to ensure well-being and that not being done. If you look at the Road Fund Act, if you look at the Tolls Act, there is a Road Safety Commission. What is the function of the Road Safety Commission? Is the motorway safe? So we can start a certain, like the campaign you're doing, we can start as lawyers a certain advocacy to ensure that our roads are made safe. And the road being made safe includes the drivers, the duty bearers, and also the policymakers. So it's not only on the policymakers, because if they give us a good road and decide to drive foolishly, we will die. If the roads are bad and you drive well, you're still in danger. So it's a cocktail of issues that we all need to put together to ensure that we're safe at the end of the day.